Hey, it's Brad, Blue Nile Farm. It's now September 1st. We're going into the fall months, and mice and rats are going to try to set up shop for the winter time for a place to stay. So we're going to start addressing this problem now so we can reduce the mice and rat population on our farms. So if you have a shop, a farm, or anywhere that you're dealing with a mice problem, stay tuned and we'll show you some real simple ways to manage this. And it works good for us and maybe works good for you. So stay tuned and we'll get to it. So I grew up on a small farm south of Cleveland in Ohio. And I remember as a kid, we had all kinds of animals: cows, horses, chickens, ducks, geese, all kinds of creatures. And we went to this farm specifically, I think, to buy a goat. Anyway, once we got to this farm, we went through the buildings and had all kinds of chickens and so on and so forth, and rabbits in cages. And we saw a lot of mutilated chickens. They were kind of like beat up, and rabbits, and some of the rabbits had their ears chewed off. And I was asking the guy, I go, what's up with these rabbits? And he said the rats were getting and chewing these rabbits' ears off in their cages. And as you walked around this property, you can actually physically hear rats and rodents scurrying in the walls. And it was pretty gross. And I just remember seeing such a huge problem, these poor rabbits getting eaten alive. I thought this is ridiculous. So that started me on, trying to stay away from, rodents. As a kid, I used to raise hundreds and hundreds of chicks and made broilers and roasters, meat birds, as a kid. And I remember having a big brooder out as a kid, and I had about 100 chicks from a hatchery, put them in the brooder. One day I had 100, the next day I had 50, the next day I had 10. And I realized that we had a rat problem, and they were actually taking the chicks and dragging them into their holes, and devouring them at a later date. So these are little problems that you don't need. Now, as I got older, I have my own farm now, and my grain rooms, I've had them infested with mice where they crawl in toward the winter time, like now, and they set up shop and they'll start chewing on your grain and eating that. I've had hay mows full of urine from mice and strings broken in where you have square bales all stacked up. And you'd be grabbing a bale of hay and you find all those little mouse droppings falling out. And the hay smells like urine and it's just tainted, and the poor animals got to eat that kind of stuff. Bottom line is, if you control your rodent population on a farm, it will save you big dollars. And it is important that you maintain it. Now, I have over 30 cats in my barn, but the practices that we use on our farm are basically using traps. And our traps are basically these bait boxes that they're made by, what is it called? This TomCat. And these things work great. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to have poison around with my cats. Well, a lot of times the poisons are great because you can set these down in your tack room, for example, where you have, or a grain room, and you set this down on the floor. They'll go in and they'll eat the poison. They'll go back down into their hole and then they pretty much die. And realistically, I've never lost a cat from eating being poisoned, and then the cat eating the mouse, and then the cat dying. I've never had that problem yet, and I don't expect to. And our cats catch mice and birds all the time, so it's very popular. But these bait boxes are wonderful. They're kind of pricey, but they're worth it because they'll last a long time. And then the baits that we use are these bait chunks. And I'm telling you that using this will, over time, as long as you fill them every 3 or 4 months, they will do the job for you. Just set this in your grain room. Last year I had such a grain problem with mice crawling in my grain, and I was kind of slacking off. They were ripping the bags pretty good, and I'd have 20 pounds of grain on the floor, and it would drive me crazy. But by using these bait containers and these bait chunks, and this is what I use as the chunks, it works good. So let me show you some of the areas and what we do with our bait and how do we use these. So this barn that I'm dealing with is 140 foot long. It's my horse barn. There's 21 stalls in here with the wash, rag, tack rooms, and so forth. And basically the way I designed this barn, because I built it, is basically I have posts 5 foot on center, and then I have the outside, which is T111 currently, and then I have kickboards in here on every stall. So if a horse kicks the wall, they're not going to put their foot through the wall. So what I have is basically a void between the posts that mice could actually set up shop. So what I'm going to do is take these bait chunks, which are green in color, And I'm going to use them, and I'm going to throw them over the side here, and I'm going to put them in the void. Oop. Try it again. Put them in the void. And that's going to fall all the way down. And I'm going to do it on both of them. So as it falls down, if mice are down in here, or rats, they're setting up shop in the walls. Basically, they're going to come down, they'll start eating these chunks. And I've been doing this for years. Not as often as I should, but because I know this is the season, this is now the time to do so. So you normally want to do it in the fall and the spring. And basically, if you do that, pretty much you'll be covered. But try to do at least every 6 months. And it'll definitely make a big difference in managing this. And that's why I keep them, because a lot of mice like to hide in the walls. And this is a way that I can attack the problem. And this is one of the best suggestions I have. That's why I love the Chunx, because they'll last. So this is basically the TomCat box, and this is the inside of it. So what you have is, you have holes, and mice can come through both holes and go in and out. And it creates a little corridor. So in this corridor, you can throw your bait chunks in here, or there's like I said, a rod, which I don't know where mine are. You can actually pierce through these bait chunks and stick them in where they're here. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, just grab a couple chunks, throw them in. So I highly doubt the mice issue are going to carry these out. I just throw these in like this. Mice will come in and then they'll eat it. And this is it. It's all set up. And what you want to do is put the whole end right along the wall, because mice like to scurry around the hole along the wall. So they'll come right through the hole to go to the other side. And and you can see right through. It's just going to work out really good for you. So I like to put these in my tack rooms, where you either have a lot of open containers where they might want to make a nest, or you put it in your grain rooms, which is where I predominantly put them. That's where I keep my grain too. Basically along the wall, and a lot of times the mice will scurry in. Now in the wintertime, I have this in the tack room. I have a bunch of cats, because we keep the heater on, and they're in there too. And they live with the mice, and the mice, I've actually seen them scurry in and out, and the cats just don't catch them. So I think once I start putting these bait boxes in there, it stopped the problem completely. So I'm going to show you why I'm going to put these in my tack room, and I'm going to show you evidence of mice. And that's just a no-brainer. But you'll see what I'm talking about as far as a problem that's starting and needs to be dealt with right away. So through this door is my grain room. And, as we go into this grain room, I'm going to show you evidence real quickly of mice. Down here along the wall, you can see mice were chewing on some of the bags. Maybe not a lot of them, but it's a start. So what we did on the other side of this grain is I put a bait box with the bait in there. Here's one of those feeders that I was talking about right there. And that's one that we use that's loaded with bait that's been there for about a year. Let's take a quick look and see what it looks like inside, and if there's any activity that's been using it or had used it. So upon opening this up, basically you can see inside here that the mice did eat a lot of this. A lot of it's broken down over time too. So we're going to throw these old chunks out. We're going to replace them with new chunks and let the mice go at it again. And I'm sure we'll have lots of activity. But every 6 months, if you change this out, and it's been over a year for me, this needs to be done. And I've been kind of slacking on it. But something you need to do, and it's well overdue. And like I say, a little bit of maintenance will go a long way. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video on trying to take care of mice and rats at your building. One of the biggest things that you need to do is, it doesn't matter if you're on a farm, whether you live in a house or residential area. What's nice about the poison baits, those chunks, is that you can set them in a trap, you can forget about it, and let it do its job. And that really, I think, makes the best sense. There's a lot of different traps on there, and depending on your situation, but I personally think that if you just incorporate this on a regular basis, you will reduce your mice population. If you let it go and fester, it's going to get worse and worse. So by putting this out there, it will definitely help you. And that's my best suggestion. But doing something is better than doing nothing. And now's the time to start. So do it now, and you'll be thanking yourself later when you don't have these problems. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.